Today, I'm inspired in my defiance by the fact that Donald Trump went on 60 Minutes last night and had a wide-ranging, heavily edited interview in which he made very little sense. Even though this is his first interview under a much friendlier regime over at CBS after forcing out a large portion of the people who were doing the actual reporting on news, he still wasn't able to focus on the most important issues of the day in a way that was very satisfying to the audience. For example, he said that the ICE raids have not gone as far as they should in harming the people that they are targeting. He did not find the empathy necessary to relate to those who have been targeted by ICE. He believes that they have been too soft on those that have been thrown to the ground or the children that have been handcuffed with zip ties. He finds nothing wrong with the extrajudicial killings of those off the coast of Venezuela. And he is absolutely not interested in any kind of conversation with Democrats in order to resolve the month-long government showdown. And when asked about the pardon that he had given to the Binance co-founder, a multi-billionaire friend of his, he said that he didn't know who that person was and couldn't speak to the pardon that he himself had given. This strikes me as a huge double standard, given that last week he was saying that Joe Biden's pardons were done by autopen and therefore should be invalidated. If he cannot even remember who he has pardoned or why they might need that pardon, it seems as though his decision-making abilities are either being compromised or are being done by someone else. When we hear from a president in the form of a TV interview, I would like to actually know what it is that they say and think. And I'm also very interested in having the unedited truth coming to us. 60 Minutes, since its inception, has been a reliable news source for Americans. And yet last night's interview fell far short of that standard. As he has done in the past, he continued to not have a solution for healthcare. The last time he was on 60 Minutes and said that he had a solution for Obamacare, he brought out a large binder or notebook filled with blank pages. And that, to me, is the most common metaphor I can use for what this president is saying. He doesn't have ideas. He has grievance. He doesn't have perspective. He has control. We need actual solutions and not just a narrative that serves one man. We need a way forward for healthcare, immigration, and our national government shutdown. And it's clear that we're not going to be able to turn to long-running news programs like 60 Minutes to be supportive of finding those solutions. I'm also inspired today by the fact that a number of recent polls have pointed to the fact that we are not doing well as a nation. Whether that is the distrust in democracy and our ability to have free and fair elections, or that a majority of people really do seem to doubt whether or not Donald Trump believes in free speech. Lastly, and perhaps most shockingly, a majority of Americans now believe that in the next 5 years there will be a political assassination. This is specific to candidates in the next round of elections, and it is incredibly scary that a majority of Americans now believe that one of the people vying for control, looking to be elected in a democratic nation, is going to be assassinated. When you have that expectation, it becomes very difficult to trust the process or the other people involved in it. We have to be able to trust that when we cast our ballot, it is going to be counted and that no one is going to try and subvert that through violence. I want to be very clear that I decry all political violence. I am not interested in trying to gain control through the use of guns, through the use of military might, or any other means other than the ballot box. Call me naive, but I still believe that the majority of Americans are not interested in a civil war. But that kind of political violence, the assassination of a leader or potential leader, is going to lead to that kind of outcome. And we have to do everything that we possibly can to stop that reality from happening. But it isn't that easy to just flip a switch and change people's opinions about what is coming. The only way to do that is through discourse. The only way to do that is through having the conversations that are required in order to make sure that no one is in belief that violence is the only answer to our political issues. And that's what I'm trying to do here. You will notice that every comment that I receive gets a reply, and I will not stop doing that. I don't agree with a whole bunch of folks, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to avoid engaging with them as a result. And finally, I'm actually inspired by the fact that Ben Shapiro called out Tucker Carlson for interviewing Nick Fuentes. These are three right-wing pundits that I could not be any further away from politically. And yet when Tucker Carlson platforms a Nazi like Nick Fuentes, he is saying this should be a part of our debate. This should be a part of the way in which we engage in public discourse. And so I am really shocked when Ben Shapiro is the one who is calling out a neo-Nazi. But I am still glad when it happens. You cannot platform Holocaust deniers. You cannot platform people who made Charlie Kirk look like the reasonable alternative for the alt-right. Nick Fuentes engages in lone wolf ideology. He is trying to stir up discontent in our country. He deeply sympathizes with Adolf Hitler and what he was trying to do to maintain control within Germany. And I think we have to move beyond the idea that this is a political fight. As someone who is creating a lot of video content, I understand that you can be drawn into the sensational. It is what gets clicks. It is what gets engagement. And so if I say lots of controversial things, I know that it is going to get a larger audience. That is what Nick Fuentes has engaged in his entire career. And to a certain extent, it is why Tucker Carlson brought him onto the show. But if we make those views into mainstream ideas, if we say, yes, we should consider the viewpoints and the ideas of Nazis, we are going backwards. We have solved for fascism. We have solved for the idea that there is only one version of the world that needs to exist and that everyone who doesn't meet that standard should be exterminated. And we cannot be party to bringing those ideas back. We need to move forward as a nation. We need to find common ground. And anyone who takes us further away from that is doing us all a disservice and doesn't deserve the time of day.